Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. COVID-19 positivity rate reaches 68%. Councillors in St. James call for tougher crime-fighting measures. Sports, Reggae Boys captain still eyeing European move. I'm Anthony Lugg. Here are the details. We begin with news that Jamaica's positivity rate from COVID-19 has hit a new record since the onset of the pandemic. The positivity rate is now 68.6%. It comes as 1,262 cases were recorded on Thursday from 2,915 samples. 54 of the cases were imported. The overall case count is now 108,983. Hospitalizations also increased to 392. That's up from 388 on Wednesday. 37 patients are severely ill, while 9 are critically ill. There are 12,587 active cases on the island. 96 people have recovered from the respiratory illness, bringing the total recoveries to 66,946. Meanwhile, 3 more people have died from the respiratory illness. To date, a total of 2,517 people have died. We go now to St. James, where members of the St. James Municipal Corporation are echoing the call for the government to implement tougher crime-fighting measures to curtail the bloodletting in the country. Chairman of the corporation, Leroy Williams, says the Firearms Act needs to be expedited to address the crime problem. Sandy Williams tells us more.
It comes like the flu. Once one division catch it, all the division catch it.
Councillor for the Granville Division in St. James, Michael Troop, giving an analogy of the crime situation in the country. Just 14 days into 2022, and already Jamaica has recorded more than 50 murders, 10 of them in St. James. Chairman of the St. James Municipal Corporation, Leroy Williams, says this is a cause for concern.
What can be done to curtail the murderous trend we are seeing in our parish, in our city? Our security forces, in spite of the intelligence gathering and hard work they have been putting in, still have a tremendous battle on their hands.
Councillor Troop believes a different approach is needed to address crime in the parish.
I think as the person in charge of the parish, you need to call a forum as quick as possible with all the stakeholders in St. James, the Chamber of Commerce, the councillors, the police, everybody. Let us sit down for a day, drink some coffee, and come up with a strategy how we are going to keep the crime in St. James at a state, a manageable state.
However, the police were not present at Thursday's meeting to advise on the way forward. While highlighting that most of the murders are gun-related, Mr. Williams says tougher legislation would be a better prescription to the country's crime problem.
It is time. The legislation that seeks to create severe penalties for traders of illegal firearms and ammunition, as well as persons with illegal possession of firearms, to be promulgated and implemented. I am therefore calling on the government to expedite this process so that the murder by guns can be curtailed.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
There's a widespread condemnation of the killing of a 9-year-old autistic boy in St. James yesterday. As you'll hear in this report from Kirk Wright, there's a call for Jamaicans to do more to protect the children.
On Thursday, 9-year-old Gabriel King was abducted and murdered in St. James, sending shockwaves across the island. He was among 5 persons murdered across Western Jamaica between Wednesday and Thursday. Head of the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, Rosalie Gage-Gray, has since condemned the killing and has called on society to redouble efforts in a bid to protect the nation's children.
Sometimes it seems like you're at a loss as to who could do that to a 9-year-old. A 9-year-old who is alleged to be special needs as well. We are at a really bad place as a country when it comes to what we are doing to our children. And
The child, whose throat was slashed, was found in the vehicle which was abandoned in Fairfield Estate.
what could that motive be? You know? It's just horrible. You take the vehicle, leave the child on the road, if that is what you want to do. But you just stuck him short like that. It just, I don't know, it touched me hard, I tell you.
In the meantime, the investigators are reportedly looking at two possible motives as they probe the killing of the 9-year-old autistic boy. Head of the Area 1 headquarters, Assistant Commissioner Clifford Chambers, gave an update when contacted by Radio Jamaica News last evening.
Very early days, the investigators have pointed to two motives which I will not comment on at this time. We're giving them some latitude to somehow firm out this motive that will guide the direction that they go.
Our news center was informed that shortly after 9 a.m., the boy was traveling in a high-end sports utility vehicle which was being driven by his mother on the Oak Hill Main Road. The woman reportedly slowed down to navigate a pothole when the vehicle was ambushed by gunmen. It's reported that one of the men hit the woman in the face, dragged her from the vehicle, and drove off with her son. A search was carried out and the boy's body was found on Fairfield Avenue. Kirk Wright for TVJ News.
The Jamaica Teachers Association is this afternoon contending with two aspects of the recently released Professor Orlando Patterson Education Report. President of the association, Winston Smith, believes the issues relating to teaching-learning process were not adequately reflected in the findings of the report. O'Shane Masters tells us more.
The 346-page Orlando Patterson Education Report details numerous defects within the education sector and recommendations on how it can be fixed. But while welcoming the report, President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Winston Smith, says it really doesn't contain any new information. Mr. Smith, who was speaking with journalists in St. James yesterday, took umbrage to two of the points which were raised by Mr. Patterson and his committee. One, the ranking of schools. He says the time has come for that to be cut out, as for decades there have been grave inequities.
There are many schools, when you enter those classrooms, the room is so hot, the heat is choking and stifling. And this is a condition under which teachers have to work. There are many schools that the teachers don't even have a proper desk or chair to sit at. There are many schools the roof out to collapse because the boards are destroyed by termites.
He's again calling for significant investments in the sector.
Stop complaining about the cost or the bill for education in terms of amount given to salary. If you have a workforce of over 30,000 people, it cannot be that the bill for salary is going to be a chicken change. We must understand, colleagues, that education is as important, if not even more, than those foreign investors whom we give tax break.
The passionate JTA president says if there is a concerted effort to fix the education sector, then the economy will be better, as there will be a reduction in crime, more investments, and the health system will not be severely strained. Another point of contention for the JTA president is that of the time used for teaching. He says there's much more that a teacher does than meets the eye.
There are reports that says that, there was only about 50 or 60% of the work day that is spent teaching. The question we should have asked when that report went out was what happened to the other 45 or 50% of the day? Let me tell you what happened to that 45%. It is spent mediating between children's dispute. It is spent nursing children. It is spent doing administrative work, accounting for our students. Many of our children come to school from broken homes and they're depressed, they're distressed. The teacher has to spend time to address those psychosocial problems before we can advance or even seek to teach.
Mr. Smith says when doing such reports, a comprehensive examination of the teaching-learning process should take place rather than a one-sided approach. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
All eyes will be on the Jamaica Teachers Association today, as the delegates are currently meeting to decide if they will accept the government's 4% wage offer. The association previously declined the government's 2.5 and 3% offers, describing it as a slap in the face of the nation's teachers.
I'm optimistic that even at the midnight cry or the early morning cry, that something can happen and that there will be a positive change. I'm still optimistic. However, as I would have said in an interview, the decision to accept or reject is not that of the president of the JTA. Neither it is of the secretariat or any of the other presidents, meaning immediate past president or president-elect. That decision to accept or reject the offer from the government of Jamaica rests in the hands of the delegates. When the delegates vote, the president has to accept the wishes of the delegates. And this president will accept the dictates or the vote of the delegates of the Jamaica Teachers Association tomorrow. Whether it is to accept or to reject, whatever they decide, I am willing to accept and present it to the government of Jamaica as a position of the JTA.
And it's time now for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to Midday News and thanks for staying with us. Another farmer is this afternoon counting his losses as thieves made off with his goats between last night and early this morning. The incident took place in the community of Galena, St. Mary. The farmer, identified as Troy, says he made the discovery this morning when he went to check on his farm.
This morning, me first came here this morning, and when the young man, generally let out the goat them for me. And when me come in, I unload the truck, and I walk towards the goat pen. I don't see no goat in the pen. So I started to look round, where I see the cutout, the entrance at the back. And then I see two little kids run up and down at the lumber yard. So
he says a further search led him to 12 more of his animals. However, 18 more goats are missing, to include a few that are in kid. As to the loss,
well, I'm not really sure, because to be honest with you, I don't really sell goat like that. You understand? But I know that about 8 nice mother goat in kid.
In recent months, there have been an increase in the theft of goats. President of the Jamaica Agricultural Society, Lenworth Fulton, has called on the government to do more to reduce the impact of predial larceny on the agricultural sector. And it's time now for the Business Minute. Here's Cody and Barrett.
More entrepreneurs and investors are formalizing their entities with the company's Office of Jamaica COJ. According to data, 2021 significantly eclipsed the previous year's business registration and company incorporation numbers by 33%, with more than 17,000 businesses and close to 5,000 companies being registered in 2021. During the pandemic, the COJ saw increased usage of its online registration platform, with an increase from 27% in 2020 to 39% in 2021 for business registration. Chief Executive Officer of MBJ Airports Limited, Shane Monroe, says while Jamaica may see reduced numbers in passengers as a result of crew shortages and cancellations of incoming flights, the airport will remain open. This as governments are demonstrating a better handling of the Omicron variant of COVID-19.
We don't have the border closures that we had before. The UK government has kept their borders open. Canadians can still travel to Jamaica, albeit with an advisory. United States has remained open as well. Jamaica is open for business and open for travelers.
Coming up in the Business Review this Sunday, a third-year university student is making waves in the local swimwear market. And that's it for the Business Minute this week. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And for the top regional and international stories, here's Sandy Williams.
In the region, Belize is implementing a new travel insurance for all visitors entering the country, even as it acknowledged that it cannot afford another lockdown given the record increase in COVID-19 cases. The Ministry of Health and Wellness's Central Health Region confirmed that the country now has more than 6,500 active cases and that there are between 500 and 1,000 new cases being reported daily since late last year. The Belize Tourism Board said all visitors arriving arriving in the country will now be required to purchase Belize travel health insurance to protect themselves against medical and other expenses incurred if they test positive for COVID-19 during their stay. On the international scene, the U.S. Supreme Court has blocked President Joe Biden's rule requiring workers at large companies to be vaccinated or masked and tested weekly. The justices at the nation's highest court said the mandate exceeded the Biden administration's authority. Separately, they ruled that a more limited vaccine mandate could stand for staff at government-funded healthcare facilities. The administration said the mandates would help fight the pandemic. President Biden said in a statement that he's disappointed in the ruling, but says the White House still plans to encourage private businesses to voluntarily impose vaccine mandates. Former President Donald Trump chaired the court's decision and said vaccine mandates would have further destroyed the economy. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And we head now to a quick break. When we return, we'll have your midday sports report. Simon Preston is standing by.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. The West Indies under-19 team were bowled out for 169 inside 41 overs against Australia in the opening match of the under-19 Cricket World Cup in Guyana. Captain Akeem August top scored with 57, while Rivaldo Clark added 37. McKenny Clark also chipped in with 29. Cooper Connolly, Tom Whitney and Nivrata Krishnana took 3 wickets each for the young Australians. At sports time, Australia had reached 45 for 2 after 11 overs. The Caribbean side will next be in action against Scotland on Monday in St Kitts. Now, despite signing a long-term deal with the Philadelphia Union recently, Reggae Boys captain and goalkeeper Andre Blake says he still has ambitions of playing in Europe in the near future. The 31-year-old, who has a deal with the Union in Major League Soccer until 2025, says finding the right opportunity has been the greatest challenge for him.
I can go to Europe tomorrow if I want to go to Europe, but I don't want to go to Europe just to go to Europe. I want to go to England, or Spain or France or even Germany, and, go to a team that, first of all, you can go and compete for a spot, and also an established team.
Until that time comes, Blake has goals he would like to achieve in North America.
I want to win MLS Cup, and I want to win the CONCACAF Champions League. So I'm a winner. I want to win. All competitions that I participate in, I'm in it to win it. Not just to make up numbers. So that's what drives me every day. I want to win.
Blake has been with the Philadelphia Union since turning professional in 2014. Back locally now, as it will be a repeat of the 2019 final as defending champions St. Catherine High battles Excelsior in the semi-finals of the Issa Walker Cup at the Stadium East Field this afternoon. Kickoff is at 3:15 in Jamaica time. In the curtain raiser at 1 o'clock, Mona High will battle Kingston Technical. And finally this afternoon, 4-time winners Ghana will be searching for their first win of the tournament as they face Gabon in Group C action in Cameroon this afternoon. Kickoff is at 2 o'clock Jamaica time. At sports time, Morocco were leading Comoros 1-0. And that is it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Anthony, it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Simon. And that's the Midday News. I'm Anthony Lugg. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.